Ah yes, the Xbox One. No, not this Xbox One. The Xbox One. It was announced all the way back in the mystical year of 2000, where pagers were a thing of the future, and the Sega Dreamcast was still the most slick and recent console at the time.
Dreamcast is the most powerful games console in the world's history, and it's the only games console that brings you into the world of online gaming, emailing, and worldwide web surfing.
At a Microsoft executive retreat, a suggestion that the company develop its own video game console coincided with a similar idea already being explored by Microsoft's DirectX team. This initial idea gained momentum, leading to the annual Game Developers Conference, where Microsoft chairman and chief software architect Bill Gates revealed that Microsoft is entering the video game scene with the introduction of a new game console, codenamed Xbox. This announcement, though, raised a lot of questions. Was Microsoft moving away from creating more iconic PC games? To which Don Coiner, director of marketing, in the newly formed Microsoft Games division, said the following: "The PC and Xbox are complementary devices. Each has very distinct audiences. So with that, you knew that the original Xbox was meant to be an extension of Microsoft's PC world to the living room." Also, Bill Gates had the following to say: "Building on our strengths as a software company, Xbox will offer game developers a powerful platform and game enthusiasts an incredible experience. We want Xbox to be the platform of choice for the best and most creative game developers in the world." But what really set Microsoft apart from competitors like Sony, Sega, and Nintendo was how the Xbox was built. Unlike the custom hardware designs of its rivals, the Xbox was constructed using standard PC components. It ran on a modified version of Microsoft Windows and DirectX, boasted the 733 MHz Intel Pentium 3 CPU and the 233 MHz NVIDIA GeForce 3 based NV2A GPU. On paper, this made it the most powerful console of its time. But here's the question: what did all the power amount to? We're gonna be taking a look back at Microsoft's debut in the console industry and see if the OG Xbox still holds up today. The Xbox was officially revealed to the public by Gates and none other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson at CES in LA on January 3rd, 2001. Microsoft announced Xbox's release dates and prices at the E3 2001 in May, which would be November 15, 2001 at $299. The system was officially launched at midnight on November 15, 2001, just 3 days before the launch of Nintendo GameCube. Bill Gates was present at the event, personally selling the first Xbox console and greeting people in line and playing games with them at the numerous display units present. So, here's my own personal Xbox, and first thing you notice with this bad boy when you hold it is the giant X-shaped symbol, which at this point you already know what it is. And after that you realize how heavy this thing actually is, and that's probably because of the metal housing and the hard drive disk and disk drive, which you might now think that they're things of the past, but back then the Xbox was actually the first console rocking an HDD instead of all these ancient useless memory cards, right? Personally, I think the OG Xbox has huge WRIS aura, and still to this day it looks and feels really badass. One thing that is a bit weird to me though, is that the power button is smaller than the eject button, which coming from the PS2 makes no sense to me, and to this day I still confuse which button is which. But that's besides the point. The console has 4 controller ports, which is always a plus, and in the back we have an Ethernet port, which is good stuff considering you can have these things in a PS2, but you have to buy extra accessories to actually use them. Here's a dumb thing: you can't just watch movies by putting a DVD in, you need to buy the DVD adapter, which is so freaking dumb, like, bro, what? Anyways, the 2000s were weird, bro. There were pretty much 2 variations of the OG Xbox controllers. The first one was the Big Duke, which I don't possess, but look at this thing, it reeks of gamer. So here's the one that I've got, which makes much more sense. It's much smaller and compact, and it feels really good to hold. I like how the bumpers have a spring, unlike the PS2 ones, but I still don't know what these white and black buttons do. Remember when I talked about memory cards a couple of seconds ago? Yeah, they're not on the console, instead they're on the controller, which reminds me heavily of the VMUs on the Dreamcast controller. Also, there's a lot of empty space on the controller. How did they not utilize it? You can see exactly where they could map some other buttons. I also recently had my hands on a brand new third-party controller, and it's so funny because the seller that I got the controller from thought it was from the Xbox 360. But yeah, this controller right here is literally brand new, and even for a third-party one, it feels really good to hold. Okay, let's power this son of a on. And this is how all the magic began with Microsoft. This UI OS is probably one of the most iconic menus for video game consoles of all time. I don't know how to explain this, but from the moment the glowing green orb pulses onto the screen, it feels like you're launching something powerful. The futuristic effects, the eerie ambient background music, and the pulsating green animations, everything about it screams early 2000s tech ambition. And who can forget about this? If you left the console on for a bit, you'd hear this and other weird stuff. Microsoft was slaying so hard back then. Anyways, this menu isn't just about looks. The original Xbox UI introduced features that were really ahead of their time. Firstly, you had custom soundtracks. You could rip your own CDs directly to the console and listen to your favorite tracks in supported games, like GTA for example. You also had local profiles. You could create multiple profiles, a feature that was really something different at the time. And last but not least, hard drive management. With an actual hard drive on board, you could manage save files without needing memory cards. Simple, but very practical. Back in the 6th generation, every console was doing its own thing and experimenting in different ways. Sega was trying online gaming and had quirky, ahead of its time ideas like the VMU. Meanwhile, Sony was doubling down on their massive success with the PS2 by going all in on DVDs and iconic exclusive games. And then there was the GameCube, a cute little console embracing its role as the family-friendly powerhouse. And the Xbox was no different. Right out of the Xbox, get it? You had Halo, a revolutionary game that brought a change to the whole gaming industry as we know it. Without it, online playing would not be the same. You also had weird sequels from the Dreamcast like Shenmue 2. This thing right here has so many good exclusive games, and the games that were on other platforms simply were better on the Xbox, for the most part. Take GTA for example. It looked better, ran smoother, and honestly, if I had to choose between playing GTA on a PS2 or an Xbox, yeah, no question, retro is cool and all that, but I kinda want to actually enjoy the experience, you know what I mean? Getting your hands on an OG Xbox as of 2025 isn't expensive, and you can get a modded one for pretty cheap, where you can do cool stuff like emulation and having your games on an SSD instead of the loud and slow HDD, but to be honest, you don't even have to get a modded one, since most games are pretty cheap to collect so far. And don't forget that there is a list of OG Xbox games that are backwards compatible with Microsoft's latest console, which proves how legendary the OG Xbox still is in 2025. It really introduced features that are standards for today, but that's what made it stand out from that generation of consoles, even though it came second to PS2 in terms of sales. Microsoft came in swinging with the OG Xbox, proving that they could stand toe-to-toe with their rivals like Sony and Nintendo. From its innovative hardware and iconic menu, to the unforgettable games that changed the industry, the Xbox carved out its own piece in the gaming world and left a lasting legacy. Even today, it's not hard to appreciate what this beast of a console brought to the table. It set the stage for the future of gaming, with features like online play, hard drive storage, and a focus on power and performance. So if you ever come across an OG Xbox and for some reason you've never tried it, now's the time because it's still cheap and very accessible to get into. If you got any favorite memories of the Xbox or games I didn't mention, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe and all that cool stuff if that's okay. Until then, keep gaming and I'll see you in the next one.